All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I've got Mario back with us, and y'all, okay, we're running a couple minutes behind, and largely it's because Restream has changed how they do everything. I know I've mentioned it a few times. It's aggravating the shit out of me. The subscription renewal is about to come up, and I've got a little time today. I think I'm going to go look at some of their competitors and see if they don't do a better job of playing fair with
How many
Rumble.
coffees does the audience need to purchase for you to renew?
Let's see, 40.
It's feasible. It's feasible.
That's the annual. So Restream runs a Black Friday special, and they might have me by the short hairs just on that, because I've basically got the $1,000 a year package for like $400 right now. So it's going to work okay. Anyway.
Cameron, if you're going to insult me, you can always log in.
Yeah, links in the Camario chat. So
yep.
Come and play, brother. Pull up your big girl panties. So, right. What do you got for me this morning, Mario?
Well, we touched on it yesterday, right? Kind of buried within the conversation about, where is la resistance, right? Where are the anarcho-communists and seething pink hat feminists in the street? Where's Black Lives Matter? Where's the action in the streets, right? I mean, so far the left has been very quiet, all right, at least not online, and we'll get there, but as far as like IRL action, the left has been very quiet, okay, since they decisively lost an election, which is atypical. You remember, in 2016, when Trump was originally elected, there was direct action in the streets immediately, okay? Large-scale protests in major U.S. cities, okay? And it culminated famously during the inauguration, when there was a large Antifa riot in Washington, D.C. You may remember that overhead shot that showed Washington, D.C. on inauguration day, where there's like sporadic fires throughout the city. They burned that dude's...
Let me touch on something there real quick.
One last thing. Okay. And they torched that dude's limousine. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. So where is that right now? What is the premise of the show?
Well, let me touch on something there real quick before we get into the where is la resistance. Ever since the 2020 election, we've been bombarded repeatedly with these accusations about, the guys on the right are election deniers, they're sore losers, et cetera, et cetera. Where's the peaceful transfer of power? Oh, my insurrection, January 6th. Blah, blah. Okay, y'all. Before January 6th, there was the May 29th insurrection, right? We're talking about the middle of the height of the BLM riots, the Summer of Love riots. BLM swarmed the White House and set fire to St. John's Church. They set the president's church on fire. When's the last time you heard anything about that in a headline? And then, of course, you've had all the Republicans, Mr. Trump, will you commit on this debate stage? Will you commit to accepting the outcome of the election and forwarding a peaceful transfer of power, unlike what happened in 2020? Y'all, in 2020, the election happened. There was some obvious misconduct. Trump filed a bunch of lawsuits, won several of them, right? And still, on January 20th, he walked away. You'll note, following January 20th, there were still lawsuits running on. There were still some things going on. There are still questions. There are definitely questions. Not least of which are what happened to the other 20 million votes, Joe. But let me take you back to 2016. We've been bombarded constantly with this. The right's going to do everything they can to overturn the legitimate election. Okay. When Trump was elected in 2016, before he was even inaugurated, articles of impeachment were filed by Democrat activists. They did the Russia hoax. They did the piss tape hoax. They did the Ukraine hoax. There was constant. Hillary Clinton still today maintains that Donald Trump, I'm sorry, not that Donald Trump, that Vladimir Putin stole the election in 2016 for Donald Trump. We had
I think she's on her third book about it at this point,
right.
actually.
We had the situation with Lisa Page and with
Strzok
and Page. Yeah.
Strzok.
With Strzok and Page, where there was obviously shenanigans like deep-seated within the federal government. We had lying to the FISA courts, et cetera, et cetera. There was no peaceful transfer of power in 2016. There was in 2020. And now they're talking about the peaceful transfer of power. We're hearing a lot of this virtue signaling about how, well, we have to respect the election. And all of a sudden, these people who have been calling Donald Trump Hitler for 10 years are talking about, okay, there it goes. My seat didn't want to cooperate. All these people have been calling Donald Trump Hitler for a decade, right? By the time he's inaugurated, it will have been since, he announced in 2015. We're walking into essentially a decade of orange man bad now. And they're telling us, oh, well, we have to respect the process, peaceful transfer of power. And we're not seeing the riots, but we are seeing something interesting. And we're going to talk about that a little more. So, Mario, I had to hit that, got to put the lie to this idea that the Democrats are the peaceful transfer party. They're going to try and advance that narrative now. But we cannot let them forget who they are.
Yeah, they've made that apparent with that sit down that Trump had with Biden recently, where visited the White House and they're all chummy. Biden not signaling any kind of resistance, to Trump.
Well, and of course, Biden's not signaling any resistance. I mean, we saw the sit down. Biden was grinning ear to ear. Biden. I think it's pretty apparent that, honestly, I think Biden and Jill voted for Trump. I really think it went that far because he is so salty, and I don't blame him for getting stabbed in the back. Because no matter what you think of Biden, I don't like the guy. I think he's an absolute scumbag.
He's a creep.
But within the party, he clearly got sabotaged and just completely betrayed by his party. I'd be salty as shit about that too.
Yeah, he's one of the leading families of the Democrat Party. I mean, the name itself is an institution. But as for Biden,
hey Lincoln, good morning, little buddy. Sorry,
no, that's fine.
We got family saying good morning in the chat there.
Got it. So, I mean, yeah. So Biden showing that. I mean, did Biden vote for Trump? I mean, I don't know. I mean, why would he authorize escalating use of force in Ukraine, with U.S.-made weapons, if that were the case, if he wanted a peaceful transition? Is Biden even in charge? He's not. Whoever. Pentagon's burning papers right now, okay? Pentagon's shredding and burning documents, all right? Remember that scene towards the end of Patton, where the Wehrmacht is basically cornered on both sides, and they show that scene where they just got they brought the burn pit straight into the operations room, and they're just shredding and burning. That's what's going on in the Pentagon right now. I hear.
Did you ever have to do burn pit duty?
Yes. Not human waste, but destroying.
Oh no, I'm talking about documents. I'm talking about destroying documents.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, that is a surreal experience standing there with a pitchfork and a flamethrower, and just thousands and thousands of reams of classified documents and just destroying it. Just stirring it around, making sure that nothing goes unburned.
My favorite was sledgehammer whack-a-mole with hard drives. That's my favorite.
Yeah. That and when we were downrange, when we had to destroy classified information, we'd put it in a big pile and put a white phosphorus grenade. You little woolly Peter.
See, we didn't have the cool toys like that because we're dirty, nasty fobbits, So
nothing destroys the secrets like Willie Pete.
Yep. Right. So not to get too far off topic here. So thus far, what have so okay. Bottom line, what we're getting thus far, what we're saying is, by at this point in 2016, after the election, and in 2020 before the election, there was far more mobilization of leftist activism, in the streets, right? So, as of right now, so far there's been minimal riots and demonstrations. The the only ones that I've seen so far that were of any significance were in Seattle and Portland, but those are illiberal hellscapes, to begin with. So,
Correct.
an average homeless congregation, in any at Pike's Place, would be considered a riot anywhere else. And part of the reason for it might be losing the popular vote. I think matters more than we're giving it credit for. Okay, I think that psychologically broke them or stunned them, for a spell, where they don't have any legitimate functioning response. Okay, normally they go with the electoral college needs to be abolished and reformed because it's undemocratic and probably somehow racist, sexist, Islamophobic, and transphobic as well. Not sure how.
Land doesn't vote, Mario. Correct. That's why we should abolish all land taxes.
I know. And you were commenting on. I mean, there's been no lack of hysterical gaslighting coming from the media in the last year. You know what I mean? Like they really have ramped up like the psychological warfare against the mush-minded in this country. Like we've heard. Let's just review some of the shit that we've heard from the mainstream media in the last 8 months alone. Like it's going to be the Trump winning the White House again would be the end of democracy, a fascist takeover. Our lives are literally on the ballot. Vote like your life depends on it. Trans genocide. You're going to live in the Handmaid's Tale. Trump will kill you. Like it's absolute hyperbolic madness. Okay, for 8 freaking months that we've been listening.
And it's not.
And then suddenly just silence.
Right, and it's not just Trump will kill you. Right. It's not just like the pure hyperbole that Trump will kill you, which is obviously absurd and hyperbolic. But there are constant claims that Trump has personally, publicly, and explicitly called for the murder of minorities, illegal aliens, hostile foreign invaders, trans people, gay people, etc. They're making these claims. Trump has personally called for this. And they take that forward and they say that if you vote for him, you're voting for someone who has personally and explicitly called for this kind of violence. And that if you're a Trump voter, that is the same as having personally called for this violence. And they're taking it even a step further and saying that everyone who has voted for Donald Trump personally wants to cause harm to basically everybody that's not a straight white male. And I do mean literally everyone that is not a straight white male. That is the claim, that if you're a woman, your life is on the line. Your life is being destroyed. Your rights are being taken away, et cetera, et cetera. And it's pure hyperbole. It always was. And it's not, or I'm sorry, it's not even hyperbole. It's outright falsehood. It's an explicit falsehood. And
they're not just targeting like people who like Trump voters. Okay, they're targeting, at least in their rhetoric, okay, entire demographic segments of the country that happen to vote over 50% for the Donald. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you shit on Reddit about white women deserve to be like hunted down and gang raped because 54% of them voted for Trump. You know, like there's fucking Mugabe, economic freedom fighter, South Africa, Julius Malema, like level psychosis. You know what I mean?
And Mario's provided us with many clips from Reddit and the like to support the claim here.
We're not gonna read these verbatim. Okay, understand that, because simply saying these words is probably a violation of terms of service with YouTube, and you will get a strike. So, but if you can see the big ones here, like they're fantasizing. It's like revenge porn, violent, impotent, violent fantasies. Okay, going on,
and it goes on and on. Terrible guava. Arm yourself. Every woman should own an AR-15. Hey, based. I agree. Mm-hmm. Pharmacists say his morals prevent him from filling your necessary abortion medication. He's trying to kill you. Your rapist's baby that you won't be able to abort and may kill you during pregnancy, rape is now also attempted murder. Defend yourselves. I mean, these guys.
Yeah,
Nowhere in the country is there an abortion ban currently, which does not have an exception for life of the mother or rape or incest, which is a whole nother conversation. But the things that they're crying about do not exist. For example, this is a little off topic, but just an example of the hyperbole and dishonesty. We've covered several of the stories that the left has been trying to spin throughout the campaign cycle about women who died because of the abortion bans. And if you read beyond the headline, you find that the headline is misleading. There was the one in Georgia who was pregnant with twins. She had an appointment to have an abortion procedure in North Carolina, showed up late for the surgery. Real quick, if you've ever been scheduled for surgery, if you show up late for you're supposed to be here an hour early time, that's it. Your surgery is canceled. You're going home. Reschedule, come back. Right? Unless you crash and have to be paddled awake and are dying on the table, they're rescheduling you. So they gave her the pills. She took the pills.
Don't be on CPT if it really matters.
And then she failed to eject the babies and went to the hospital in Georgia. And the claim is that the doctors wouldn't treat her because it's illegal to perform an abortion in Georgia. Right? That's the claim. That is a false claim. The truth of the matter is that there is a heartbeat bill in Georgia, which does put a cap on how late you can kill your babies, and her babies were too old to be murdered. But that wasn't relevant because she had already murdered her babies in another state. And so what she needed was that DNI, where they scrape out the dead material.
DNC.
DNC, you're right. And the claim, the next claim is the doctors didn't perform it because they were afraid of what the law says. And in fact, the law is very clear that basically gets treated like a miscarriage. The doctors are 100% absolutely and explicitly permitted to perform that procedure. They are required by law to perform life-saving medical procedures. And so if the doctors did not believe that they were allowed to perform that procedure, it is because the leftists lied to them and told them that the procedure had been outlawed. It is because they watched CNN and MSNBC and they believed the lie that the life-saving procedure, which was not an abortion, which is explicitly medically, physically, and legally distinct from an abortion for this particular reason, they were either trying to kill her to make a political point, or they were failing as professionals who have a continuing education requirement by falling down to the propaganda that was being used by Democrats to lie about Trump's intent on abortion. As much as I'd be all for a national abortion ban, Trump isn't. That's not something he ran on.
Right. And that, that's bullshit, because hospitals actually do retain a lawyer, like full-time, whose job it is to brief the personnel on the latest happenings in the legal realm in regards to various medical procedures. But you notice how celebrities have also, like, let's talk about some cultural icons of the left, right? Celebrities have shut the F up quick.
I noticed Rob Reiner did not self-immolate on a Twitter live stream like he promised to do.
They've been very disciplined for once, right?
I bought a lot of popcorn for that show.
Yeah, it's okay. I think they're just planning. I think they're in the planning phase. They're in the grieving phase, I guess. I don't know. And politicians have also.
And you'll notice they always promise they're going to flee the country and go to Canada. They never plan on going to Mexico because they're a bunch of fucking racists.
Go to Canada, sign up for the MAID program, and off yourself, please. Anyway, politicians have also been relatively quiet, other than AOC, of course, because she streams, right? She's been talking shit about, take it to the streets, whose streets are streets, the typical calling card.
Well, real
know,
quick, let me give you a little pushback there, Mario. AOC has actually been doing something interesting. She has been, because people in her district voted largely for Trump, but they voted for her also. And she's confused, and she's been out on the street asking people why. And they're all basically saying the same thing. Look, it's the economy, stupid. And also, no dicks in the ladies' room.
And the army of migrants of military age males like leering at the women as they walk through the streets. You know what I mean? So right. So yeah, other than being depressed, the Democrat politicians aren't really talking about it. All right, at least so far. And yeah, AOC about her. We talked about this several times since the election. One of the most alarming trends for the Democrats is seeing the increase in Trump's support in deep blue districts. Okay, so in New York City, I think Trump lost New York by what? Maybe I don't want to talk. I don't know, but he lost it by significantly less, okay, than he did in 2020 or 2016.
He gained either 11 or 14 points in New York. Yeah, he gained 11. He gained 11 in either California and New York.
Yeah,
and 14 in the other one.
Yeah, people were talking about.
I forget which is which.
Yeah, or New York, or New Jersey, or Virginia. No, swing states. Stuff like that. So Trump, Trump
he gained something like 22 points in New Jersey.
Yeah, he did. He only lost New Jersey by 4 points. I know that for sure. Which is huge, but not the 20% we're used to. All right. Anyway, get back on here topic. And then, the media some people in the media have, done a 180 from, screaming bloody panic and, apocalypse and civil war prior to the election and immediately after. Most famously is Joe Scarborough and his punching bag, Mika. Went down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. Yeah, never forget, Joe Scarborough bludgeoned an intern to death, okay, in his office in D.C. That happened.
Yep.
So, anyway, they went to Mar-a-Lago.
To be clear, that intern was not Mika Brzezinski. But Mika Brzezinski is Joe Scarborough's wife.
Look, if you're willing to beat a mistress to death, I guarantee you're slapping around your wife. Now and again. Okay.
But this was funny. There was a couple of days after the election, they were doing the Morning Joe show, and Joe was saying, I think we missed it because I think people really don't understand how good the economy is right now. They think they're suffering out there. I'm like, oh, Joe, they think they're suffering. And he says, so I was talking to this guy, and in New York, just blue collar guy. And the guy said, I'm worried, man. I think Trump's going to win it. We're like, why? Well, because butter's over $3. And Joe's like, well, and I thought, I didn't say this to him, but I just said, yeah, you're probably right. That sounds important. It's like that. Who cares? Butter's over $3. It's what that seems a little reductive, right? And like, as he's saying that, Mika breaks in and interrupts him. And she says, Joe, butter's $7 here. Yeah. And Joe Scarborough says, $7? What is it, framed in gold? And I'm like, Joe, okay, so like out where I am, butter's $5 or $6 a pound. That's retarded.
Yeah.
If butter is $5 or $6 a pound, right? That's yeah, Joe. That's something that people notice. In fact, Joe was surprised to hear it because he doesn't buy his own groceries. Like almost anybody you can think of in the millionaire, billionaire class, especially the millionaire professional public celebrity class, they've got somebody that does the shopping for them. Apparently at Joe's house, it's Mika, because she knew butter was $7.
Yeah, Mika probably does the grocery shopping, and she quietly kind of resigned herself to the actual, kitchen table economics problem, going up to the election. So, all right. So we noticed that thus far, Antifa and Black Lives Matter have been inactive, right? Now, we need to understand, despite, I hope you took the right lessons away from 2020, okay? That Antifa and Black Lives Matter, they don't work for free, okay? When they
Correct.
operate, they're being paid. Okay, like Soros is a big contributor. Okay, but non-governmental organizations, most of them DNC affiliated, funnel money into their campaign. Right? You remember back in 2020 during the summer of 2020, the summer of love, I guess. You saw like chartered buses ferrying these mongrels from city to city on like a nationwide tour of sacking American cities.
Yeah,
Um,
you'd have the charter buses full of protesters, and then the U-Haul truck would pull in behind them with the
the shields
with
and
riot
bricks, and
shields and
yeah,
batons and bricks and bottles for Molotovs.
right, yeah. Even had lawyers driving around in the streets handing out free Molotovs in New York City. Um,
Well, you had lawyers in New York City handing out free Molotovs directly to police officers.
yeah.
Hey, pig, you look thirsty. Scoosh.
Yep.
No
So
jail time, by the way. No jail
so
time.
bottom line is, so no one's funneling money right now into these groups. Okay, so why is that? If they
They
really believe,
can't. Kamala spent it 1.2 billion on a presidential campaign. There's no money left.
yeah, they're just fundraising right now, basically just to plug the holes that they burned for themselves during the campaign.
Well, officially, the
Anyway,
campaign is fundraising to pay for recounts.
last time the Democrat Party went bankrupt, Hillary stepped in and bought them. So be
Yep.
on the lookout. Be on the lookout for who buys the DNC. Okay, in the coming months, someone will.
Oh yeah. As soon as we see that, we'll cover that on the show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We'll cover that in great detail when it happens, because it will happen.
So okay.
Again.
So focus here. The key point is money is not being channeled from above down to the street. Okay, why is that? This seems like a perfect opportunity to do so, because they've been screaming about the end of democracy and its fascist takeover and nightmare dystopia, right? Well, maybe part of the reason for that, like 2017, we had Antifa versus the Proud Boys, the common street battles. Okay, they were awesome, by the way. The battle for Berkeley.
The battle of Berkeley was amazing.
If you've never heard of the battle for Berkeley, do yourself a favor, okay, and look up some of that. Get some clips, okay? Priceless. All right. That was in 2017, okay, and 2020 left-wing power brokers and Dems ran cover for these groups by not prosecuting them, while dark money, okay, from unknown sources was being spent to activate them, keep them active in the street. So the big money pays them to riot, and then the Democrat Party runs cover for them by making sure they don't get prosecuted or by bailing them out. Okay, so it's like this cyclical insurrection. If I'll use the word insurrection. Okay, that was being fomented, right? So where's that money right now? Well, maybe the very same people who would be financing this insurrection or financing a new insurrection are too busy right now covering their own asses, because they're terrified that, especially with Gates' appointment of if he gets through, and I pray to God we do get Attorney General Gates. They're scared. They're scared of that. Basically, there's going to be cracked down against them. Okay, they knew that Trump was brand new to politics. Okay, and they'd have some significant advantages over him as far as DC maneuvering back when he won in 2016. Okay, and Trump even admitted as much on the Joe Rogan interview, where he kind of just admitted to Joe Rogan, like, and you don't hear Trump being self-critical, okay, very often, because he's an egomaniac. But he told Joe Rogan, basically admitting that, yeah, I got rolled in 2016, 2017. I showed up and I was just kind of spellbound by the situation, and the fact that I was actually here, and I relied too much on Reince Priebus and other Rhino Republicans or GOP establishment types to help him assemble his team, right? Remember, they got Flynn in a heartbeat, and Mike Pence was behind that. Okay, but yeah, Trump got rolled in 2017. All right, he admitted it. That's not that should not happen this time. Okay, because now Trump knows better. So the left knows that they're dealing with a more dangerous Donald Trump this time. All right, And I'm pretty sure that their resources are going into saving their own asses before they start funneling money into the streets. Okay, that's my theory.
Well, it's not just that. We're seeing MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, all the major big stream press outlets. They're laying people off, and they're not just laying people off. They, or at least the word on the grapevine, they're laying people off, and a lot of it has to do with just not making money. Their viewership has just absolutely cratered.
Yeah, like 20% bad, like, which is alarming.
More than that, MSNBC lost nearly half. I mean, their ratings were already on the steady decline, and then since the election, they've just gone completely underwater. They're surviving on carriage fees now, and with many of their hosts making $5, $6, $7 million a year, they're not bringing in the money to support them all. So it's not just going to be the mailroom clerks and the janitors and the low level positions that get cut. Some of the big boys are about to lose their jobs, and there's nowhere for them to go.
Do you know what the biggest source of ad revenue is for mainstream media news? Pharmaceutical companies.
Yep.
And their fever dream, advertisements, trying to sell you dangerous experimental drugs like buttered popcorn. They're freaking out about RFK over that as well, because that's one of the first things RFK wants to ban. You can't advertise drugs on TV. So,
real quick, and this is one of two countries. Only the U.S. and New Zealand allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise on television, and it's disgusting. Waller mentions, I think they're pushing funds to the shadow government rather than protesters. I think they saw the contrary effects to their protests from the first admin. And
that's basically what I'm saying.
We're going to be talking about that soon, if not tomorrow. Because the shadow government, this isn't like the deep state, all right? And I'll explain this in a little more detail to you guys when we do the show to cover it in particular. But just kind of real quick, I've talked about this before. There's a thing called the deep state. If somebody looks at you when you say deep state like you're crazy, they just don't know their ass from Crisco. If somebody thinks that when you say deep state, you're talking about some wild-eyed conspiracy theory, they're fucking stupid. Well, the deep state refers specifically to the order of unelected bureaucrats that run the government. Now, I believe this has to do with why Trump won the election and why going forward we should have so much optimism. When the Chevron doctrine was gutted by the Supreme Court in a recent case about a year earlier this summer, when the Chevron doctrine was gutted, which was the legal precedent that required the agencies and the courts to defer to agency policy when law was vague. And that's a gross oversimplification. But essentially, Chevron doctrine made it so that the faceless, unelected bureaucrats could effectively write law without the involvement of the legislature. And that's how we ended up with this bloated and ever-expanding barrel-ass roller chair shitbaggery of a deep state. But when people say the deep state, we're specifically talking about the upper management, C-suite level, unelected bureaucrats who have permanent jobs, are almost unfireable, and until quite recently essentially had the authority to create law and enforce it with the threat of death, right? We're talking about leadership of the ATF, the CIA, the FBI, Homeland Security, HHS, the list goes on. That has basically been gutted by getting rid of the Chevron doctrine. When we say shadow government, that is a very different thing. And this is also not a wild conspiracy theory. I do not believe currently that the shadow government, which we will be discussing in more detail, I don't believe that it currently exists in a meaningful way, but the Democrats are actively talking about building that shadow government in very explicit terms, even going so far as to refer to it as the shadow government. and referring to the individual memberships as the shadow secretary of state, the shadow secretary of Homeland Security, the shadow this, the shadow that. This is a thing which they are explicitly stating that they're going to do, and we'll be covering that, if not tomorrow, first thing next week.
Whether or not there's a shadow government, that is above the deep state, okay, or the administrative state, uncertain, but there definitely is a shadow Democratic Party leadership, okay. Obama, the Obamas are in charge, and well, competing with the Biden families and the Clinton families, okay, but there's a shadow Democrat Party for sure. I guess one of the last things I wanted to mention before we get into, if you want to dive into the heart of Reddit darkness with me, toward in a minute, bring up some of those those screen captures. But anyway, I guess last thing is here's an X factor, okay? Let me really scare you. So in the last 4 years, the Biden administration has imported a literal army of fighting age males into this country, and has used the tools of our own government, particularly FEMA, to transport them all over the country. Okay, like some kind of psychotic Johnny Appleseed, just planting migrants in every corner of the country. And like I said, most of them are fighting age males. So why wouldn't they use that army? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't they use those people as part of their plan? That's what really concerns me. That you got basically, and they're going to be desperate if Trump does ramp up the deportations like he's talking about, and it looks like he really is, because he's reiterating himself and he's putting the right people in place to do it. They will be the ones who are activated, because they are the ones who have nothing to lose, right? So that's what I'm going to be looking out for in early 2025. If we actually start seeing migrant kill teams operating in this country, kind of like how
you mean like the Trinidad Aragua guys that are taking over the hotel.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like Trinidad Aragua in Colorado. Don't be surprised if you see shit like that nationwide. Okay, just insurrections by pockets of organized migrants. Okay, in your state.
The property management company that runs Trinidad Aragua follows the show on Twitter. They're one of our Twitter followers.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Z entered the chat. Anyway.
The company that runs the hotels, or not the hotels, the
the property management company.
Yeah. The apartment building management company. What's the name of the company? CBZ Management.
Yeah.
They follow us on Twitter, and they message me on X. We've had some interesting dialogue about that. Because we did 2 shows covering the Trinidad Aragua situation. And I'm glad that came up, because there's a great example of what a shadow government type of thing might be. Real quick, Corbma says their shadow government rhetoric sounds like tantamount to treason. Okay, let me clear something up for you guys real quick. Treason is a very specific thing.
Wait a minute. Do you mean that we are treasonous, or that the shadow government is treasonous?
No, that forming the shadow government would be treasonous.
Okay.
It's not.
No.
To be clear, as a citizen of a country, if you turn on your country and conduct war against your country to overthrow, etc., like the lefties like to say, oh, well, we were founded by traitors. The founding fathers were traitors to the crown of England. No, they weren't. They were not traitors. They were insurrectionists. And even then, only sort of, because what happened there is they declared their independence. So you've got treason. Treason is when you provide aid and comfort to the enemies of your nation, right? So if you're, for example, sleeping with a Chinese spy and giving her U.S. secret documents, like I don't know, maybe you're in an important position, like you serve on the House Intelligence Committee or something like that. And you're, yeah, exactly. Right. So that's treason. If you're running a massive influence peddling machine where you're selling access to foreign governments, to the levers of power within your own country, that's treason. Right. That's providing aid and comfort to the enemy. So for a person to commit treason, you require the entity, an external entity at conflict, and a contingent element of the entity in question offering assistance to the external entity. The shadow government, unless we can show that that the people forming the shadow government are doing so in conspiracy with a foreign entity like the Chinese Communist Party or the Russians or something like that, then what they're doing is a coup. So an insurrection would be the people of the country who are not in the government rising up, and that's either an insurrection or a revolution. And really, it depends on who wins, how you call it, right? The difference between an insurrection and a revolution is whether or not the people win.
Might makes right, okay?
Yeah, might does make right. The shadow government that we're talking about, this is something that's being orchestrated and put together, as near as we can tell from the information we have so far. I don't have any information that suggests that the Chinese are involved or the Russians are involved or anything like that. The shadow government are Democrats who are elected officials. That means they are currently in government, and they are forming a coalition within government to subvert and overthrow the government. That's what the shadow government is about. That is not treason. That is not an insurrection. That is not a revolution. That is not a rebellion. That is a very specific thing. That is what's called a coup d'etat.
Yeah.
It's not a military coup. A military coup is also a very different thing, but they're cut from the same sort of cloth. So
people with money and power
is a big fucking deal.
Yeah, people with money and power are going to congregate around other people with money and power to exercise the use of money and power. It's understood. That's politics. Do you want to take a trip down the in the heart of Reddit darkness?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Yeah.
Because these people are psychotic.
Yeah.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. Yeah, honey.
Movie quotes. Nice. Yep. And then another one. A teacher says that a random kid in the hallway told a high school girl that it was your body, my choice. And then the girl punched him in the face. And then another commenter stated, well, basically the meme, like, things that didn't happen for 500, Alex. And then they were promptly banned off of Reddit just for saying that didn't happen. Just you know what? Have you done a show on Blue Sky, the alternative?
No,
Twitter?
not yet. That's another one we can do. Yeah. Where the hell's my notepad?
So Canadian, basically,
it's over here under the MDF board.
Yeah. A limp-wristed. Here we go. A limp-wristed Canadian is who is disabled and has mentally disabled and physically disabled, which characterizes much of the left. Try to basically foment guerrilla hit squads. Okay, in the United States to defend women's rights or whatever. So yeah, fantasizing about organized violence. More seethe.
Yeah,
please.
This one's.
I can't read that. Iowa pediatrician tells Trump supporters, "I hope you lose your kid in a school shooting." Wow, like, are these people human? Like,
and then the reply is
the same. Someone agrees.
Same.
Yeah.
Right. This list over here says, "My therapist is a Trump supporter. Advice for those dumping Trump supporting therapists: It's okay and often necessary to dump your Trump supporting therapist. My therapist is a Trump supporter? Is it appropriate to ask my therapist if he's a Trump supporter?" Shut up.
Yeah, but
Right there you go. Can you read that one out loud?
We'll ask the questions. Okay. For all the women that voted for Trump, I hope, yep, you yeah, get molested, get sepsis, and die. Okay. Utterly classless. Someone here calling for an insurrection. Okay. Like, dude, if they pull off if they try to do a January 6th, it'd be so funny. I would.
Well, and the thing about leftists, if they try to pull off a January 6th, we've seen what they do. It will get
They'll
violent.
actually
It'll
burn
get violent
it. Yeah,
immediately.
exactly.
They will firebomb it. They will bring incendiary devices and burn it to the ground.
That's one of the things. I mean, I was watching January 6th live, and I'm not going to lie, I was cheering them on. Okay, and I noticed how they march into the Capitol and they're staying in between the stanchions. In fact, they're picking up garbage. One guy actually like adjusted the stanchions because they got pushed out. It got pushed out of alignment a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't destroy the place. Okay. Whereas I'm looking at the main atrium right in the Capitol with all these statues, Romanesque statues of American leaders in the past, right? And I'm like, Antifa BLM would have taken spray paint to all this shit. They would have smashed shit, and they probably would have lit something on fire. So, anyway, Big Brother AI up there, top right corner, is basically admitting that abortion is murder of a child, but he doesn't care because he hates children. The online left is very anti-natalist. Okay.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. With that said, it isn't murder. It's honestly closer to self-defense. The baby is a parasite, and the host can choose to kill it if they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's who the left is. They're monsters.
Not human. Okay. I hate these ones the most. These ones are awful. Okay. I genuinely hate my Trump supporter parents so much. I wish they were dead. Seeing families ripped apart by shit like this is insane. But if you zoom in on it a little bit, there's a key tell on this individual who posted this. What is his name? R4Tran for murderous boy failure. Okay, so this is a male to female tranny, probably a teenager, who's completely lost his mind and is fantasizing about the death of his own parents.
Correct.
See, these are the spiteful mutants that we talk about. Okay, like the people for whom politics is nothing but hatred and envy. Because I mean, let's be honest, their life is shit. Okay, they got dealt a horrible hand, and I don't know how you deal with these people. Other than religion traditionally is how you deal with these people. But yeah, I mean, broken, miserable, maimed, and ugly. That's who these people are. And
yeah, I mean, hell, I can't wait to deny them any care in an old age.
Yeah.
And let them rot in a nursing home.
Yeah, it's really dark. It's really dark.
I mean,
it's always been like this. Okay, even during the 1917 Russian Revolution, it was the same freaking way. Oddly enough, the only book I've ever read by Dostoevsky was Beasts. Okay, in which he goes into which the book is about. It goes.
Oh God, you've never read Crime and Punishment?
Nah, I never have. No.
Do yourself a favor.
All right, I'll put it in the bathroom. I'll do it 20 pages at a time. Every time I take.
Yeah, set it in there next to your Constitution.
All right. You used to not to go on too much of a tangent, but you kept Anne Rain's Atlas Shrugged as your shitter book for like a year. I remember in Hawaii. Anyway, so oh shit, I derailed myself. Okay. I don't remember what I was going to say. All right.
Next, when we were still in Hawaii, I would just sit and read.
Oh, Dostoevsky, right. Yes, Beasts. Okay, the book of Beasts. It's about it's a book about the actual type of people on the ground level who were implementing the Bolshevik Revolution. Okay, and he described them as such spiteful mutants, basically miserable, angry. You know what? I don't need to explain it. If you could just find that photo where it shows all those collected mug shots of Antifa from Seattle back in in 2020, that describes. I mean, that would do more justice than any words that I could come up with.
Oh,
if you can, you don't have to.
Do you mean this one?
Yes. Okay. So. This is what you need to understand. The people who are posting this kind of trash.
Look at that dome.
Yes, the people posting this kind of trash on Reddit are these people. That is who that is who is writing this stuff. Okay, so our murderous boy failure tranny is basically one of these people. They're interchangeable. By the way, the most famous one here on poll on 4chan is Mr. Mitosis. Here, if you go back real quick, Mr. Mitosis, second from the left, second row, or second from the right, second row. If you want to put your mouse over him.
I don't think they can see the mouse. Here,
Yes,
let me try
Mr.
something real quick. Nope. It doesn't show
Anyway.
it doesn't show the clicker. Doesn't show
Anyway,
the mouse.
the mega mind looking mutant. Anyway, okay, so carry on. Next. Anyway.
You mean the next Reddit post?
Yeah. Go to the next Reddit. Yep. But yeah, these are who you're dealing with, America. All right. Okay, so this is a big one. Now, generational hatred. They hate the Zoomers. Why? Because the 18 to 30-year-old male population voted for Trump. Okay, which is shocking. Okay, when it comes to normal Republican politician, like a normal Republican campaign, normally those are like the last.
Do you know why the Zoomers? Do you know why the Zoomers are getting more and more based?
Because they're living it right now. They're living.
That's part of it.
They're not insulated from the social phenomenon of transgenderism. Really, and the fruits of the left, they must walk amongst the fruits of the left daily. Okay, whereas people our age are more insulated from it because we don't have to live that close to the urban areas.
No, you're missing another important part of schools. Yes, the Zoomers went through the public schools and they were surrounded by, they had to deal with these people, but they also, the Zoomers physically as a population category, as a demographic category, outnumber the Zoomer leftists, because the Zoomers that are alive today are the ones that were not aborted by their leftist sociopath parents.
That's true. By
their leftist sociopath millennials who voted for Barack Obama.
Yep. All right. So yeah, fantasizing about killing Zoomers.
We saw that one already.
This one. All right. This is
there you go. The 4B movement. We've mentioned this briefly, but haven't gone into great detail on it. It's the Bihon, Bihua. I forget the 4 Korean words, but
it's the no. Yeah. Basically, no sex, no pregnancy. Basically, I shut down my womb. Not just my womb, shut down the vagina as well. We could do a short show on that because it originates from Korea, and But anyway, it doesn't really interest me that much. But
그렇지만 더 한국 사람들 이런 쇼를 보면 아주 좋다요.
Yeah, I don't even remember that shit. Nor do I care. I don't. But yeah, another one here. It's basically.
I remember it because I love Korean barbecue. 한국 음식이 아주 맛있어. 김치가 아주.
I will admit that it is 맛있어요. Anyway.
Kimchi, fighting.
I eat kimchi every morning. So it's part of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's good for your metabolism. Good to like reset your gut biome. But
I made some amazing pork fried rice yesterday, and I realized too late that I was out of kimchi.
Yeah, too late. All right. So another one here, basically women calling for arming themselves and shoot men who try to rape you, because these people live in a fantasy world where like MAGA chud breeder teams are going to come like abduct blue-haired, pink-haired women and forcibly breed them and then traffic them across state lines to red states where they can't get abortions, and they're going to keep them in dog kennels and force them to have babies, every 9 months, or at least this is their sexual fantasy. But yeah, that's some of what you're seeing coming from these leftist females. I think we got a couple more next. All right.
This is the last one.
Oh yeah, Biden invoked the Insurrection Act. Okay, so they're calling on Biden to basically wield dictatorial power and shut everything down, and it's based on their complete misunderstanding of recent Supreme Court decision based on Trump. I don't remember the details of it, but here he says this needs to happen before the vote is certified in January. President has ultimate power without constraint if done in the line of work. Okay, they're referring to the decision made that Trump couldn't be prosecuted for events related to January 6th if he was knowingly or doing something in the line of duty, or you know what I mean? Whatever, they're misconstruing it. But yeah. Anyway.
Well, basically, what that decision said is what the Constitution has always said: is you can't just prosecute and you can't just indict and prosecute a president. You see, okay, so
that is correct, Waller.
Yeah. What the left tried to roll with is we are going to pretend like things that Donald Trump did were crimes, and we're going to just send the police to arrest him and then take him to court. And okay, sometimes the job of the commander-in-chief of the armed services includes instructing warfighters to commit homicide in war, in the conduct of war, sometimes even in the pursuit of law enforcement, right? And there are other things, but dealing with classification, dealing with how law is to be interpreted and enforced, because he is the chief law enforcement officer. There are authorities that belong to certain agents and agencies which do not belong to us as civilians. A good example is, now it's been changed in Georgia, but traditionally, citizens arrest. You as a citizen traditionally had the same authority to effect an arrest as a police officer had a citizen's arrest. However, you did not have the authority to incarcerate or transport the arrestee. So what a citizen's arrest meant was you stop somebody who's committing a crime from committing that crime, and then you call and you refer it to the proper authority, right? So there's a distinction in levels of authority. And the concern legally is that if the president attempts to exercise legitimate authority and some sociopath prosecutor decides, I don't want him to do that, then they can just file charges and send a cop to arrest him. And it doesn't even matter if the charges are completely fabricated and bullshit, as we've seen with the Mar-a-Lago raid, with the Trump fraud case, with the Stormy Daniels hush money case, which, by the way, is being thrown out also. All those cases are falling apart now.
All of them are.
Because they were all absolute bullshit. Just like the sexual impropriety allegations against Matt Gaetz. Guys, it's their go-to. But I digress. So
I'll tell you who's
there's a mechanism.
Right now.
There's a mechanism in the Constitution to deal with a president who commits high crimes and misdemeanors. And that mechanism is called impeachment. The impeachment process is functionally the same thing as the indictment, trial, and conviction process that's applied to citizens, but it requires a much greater level of deliberation, because the question has not only to do with what the law says, but whether or not the makers and enforcers of law have authority of interpretation, which has to be validated through the process. Because without that, then the president's hands get tied in places that it shouldn't be. And just for every one of you shit lib leftards that's crying about presidential immunity, Barack Obama is still walking free.
Yeah.
After murdering American citizens in countries where we were not at conflict.
Serial killer.
He is. Barack Obama was a serial murderer while he was in office and has not even faced an inquiry on that fact.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's true. Well,
I mean, the terrorist that he murdered, he murdered a terrorist. And I fully support the death of that terrorist. But to support the killing of an enemy and to support the extrajudicial murder of an American citizen are two very different things, because that's what happened. He murdered an American citizen without due process, and then he murdered his kid. So,
all right. Well, we've got through pretty much all of our talking points here, and we're at the 1 hour at the 1 hour mark.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Anyone in chat got any final comment? Actually, there's probably significant lag between me saying that and them typing. Anyway.
That's true. While we wait to see if they have any final comments, I want to read this slide. What the hell? Do I not? Okay. I thought I'd be able to. Nope. Okay. Anyway. So, media and political rhetoric, shifted rhetoric. In the weeks following the election, media and political discourse have cooled from extreme and divisive language to a more conciliatory tone. This shift reflects an attempt by the radical left to signal a desire for unity and understanding amidst political polarization. In reality, they are seeking to cover themselves for their many crimes.
That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'll tell you who's covering their crimes. Right? If I worked at the Southern District of New York, like that court system right now, I'd be sweating bullets. You know they're destroying evidence as we speak. You know.
I guarantee you, if you get within 100 miles of the Southern District of New York courts, you can walk into any Staples or Office Max or whatever, and Walmart, Target, pick your store. Every one of them is slap the fuck out of matches and shredders.
Oh yeah. If I was Letitia James, or Alvin Bragg, I would sit down and shut them up for the next 4 years. If they were
honestly, if I was any one of those people right now, I would be quietly getting the fuck out of the country. I would be disappearing.
Disappearing somewhere in the Caribbean where they're not likely to find you.
Correct.
Yep.
Just go ahead and learn Spanish and how to mix a Mai Tai.
Unverified about Gates. I've been saying he's like Harvey Dent, but real life. And
yes,
I need to see this character arc complete itself.
I need to just see Matt Gaetz. He needs to do this. Matt Gaetz needs to get himself a large, challenge coin, right? And just whatever he's on camera, just be flipping. It needs to be a big ass challenge coin, like the SecDef challenge coin.
Yeah, with one side X'd out.
Yes, and just flip the challenge coin.
Yep. Yeah, giving his political enemies the Anton Chigurh treatment. Heads or tails, call it.
Do it. Do it.
What do I stand to win? Everything.
Everything. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it right there. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Ciao.